What's going on, guys? In this video I'll be explaining the fate of Best Jeanist in detail and what it means for the future of this series. In order to do this, I will be talking about spoilers from My Hero Academia chapter 288 and also a bunch of manga chapters as well that came before this, so if you want to avoid spoilers, then yeah, this is not the video for you. Just before we get into it, there will be no new chapter next week as Horikoshi is taking a well-deserved break, but be sure to sub anyway because there will be some other videos in the meantime. Okay, so chapter 288 kicks off in a surprising manner as we see an unknown jet flying through the sky with two mysterious characters inside it. Inside the jet we see a bunch of carbon fiber cables which are identical to those used by Best Jeanist during My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Minor spoilers for Vigilantes, but in that spin-off we saw a younger and more sleeveless version of Best Jeanist using carbon fiber cables to stop this tower from falling. This type of fiber is normally used for holding up suspension bridges and it's incredibly tough, but because it's fiber, Jeanist is able to freely manipulate it. Flashing forward to the present day, we hear a man inside the jet complaining that it's not going fast enough, to which the pilot replies and tells him to sit down as the mystery man's body has not recovered yet. Whilst we don't get a look at the man's face, we do see a little bit of his body and he has a bit of a slender frame, and also the fact that his body hasn't recovered yet, it almost subtly confirms that yeah, Best Jeanist is still alive, as the last time we saw him he was still recovering from his battle against All For One. Based on the context of certain events, it's highly likely that Jeanist plans to manipulate these carbon fiber cables to restrain Gigantomachia and possibly trip him up like the students did before. As with most plans to stop Gigantomachia, this will probably not be able to hold him back for long, but it may temporarily restrain him and allow more citizens to be evacuated before he continues his rampage. Now, before we move on, I'm going to explain how he's still alive, and then I'm going to give you my take on why I would have preferred this not to be a fake death. Way back in chapter 231, we saw that Dabi asked Hawks to prove his loyalty by killing a pro hero, other than the number one of course, because that honor is reserved for Dabi himself. The scene then progresses to Best Jeanist's apartment where Hawks gives him a rare visit. Knowing what we know now, we can examine this whole interaction in a totally different light. Jeanist reveals how, despite only having one lung, he plans to resume his hero activities very shortly and step back into the public eye. Hawks then laughs and replies by saying that, that's too bad. This is then followed by Hawks holding a body in a bag as he says the words, "Don't let a person's resolve go to waste." Knowing that Jeanist wanted to shortly return to his hero activities, the reason Hawks says this line about resolve is because, the number 3 hero has agreed to go into hiding until Hawks can take down the villains. This raises two questions though. Number one is, who's that person in the bag? And number two is, why did Hawks take out the feather sword in this moment? To answer that first question, Jeanist himself would have played a big role in who was in that bag. When Dabi first saw this body, he briefly doubted whether this really was Best Jeanist, but ultimately he didn't care because Hawks had still killed someone regardless. Based on Dabi's words here, it's highly likely that this is a real person and not just some kind of Best Jeanist doll or something like that. Like, it is real. I mean, you can tell the difference between a real body and something that's completely fake. So I'd assume Dabi has, enough intelligence to work out the difference. Being the righteous hero that he is, I doubt Jeanist would be cool with killing an innocent person in his place, so I think it's possible they did the following instead. At this time, Hawks was not being monitored by the villains, alright? This was before Skeptic put in all those cameras and everything, so Hawks could do whatever he wanted. And as illustrated by this handy diagram, top heroes have an extensive reach when it comes to the Hero Commission. Therefore, he was still free to contact the Hero Commission and tell them of the current situation. My working theory right now is that by pulling some strings, the Hero Commission were able to acquire a body of a recently deceased person that has a similar stature to Best Jeanist, at which point Jeanist used his excellent set of skills to give that person a makeover so they resembled him as much as humanly possible. That way, no one was actually killed to fulfill the mission, and the only real sacrifice was that the number 3 hero had to postpone his return to hero activities. Regarding why Hawks took out the feather sword in this moment, is pretty understandable when you look at the whole situation. The fact remains that in this moment, we now know that Hawks must have told Jeanist about the plan to kill another hero, and he doesn't know how Best Jeanist is going to react. In another reality, Jeanist could have restrained Hawks right there and then. And also, maybe he could have been like, no, like, I want to return as a hero. I'm not going to hide away for several months until you finish your plan. You know, there's a lot of different reasons why Jeanist would have declined the offer, and things could have turned ugly. It was only because of his resolve that the mission was able to progress the way it did. But on the flip side, Jeanist could have just as easily declined, and then who knows what could have happened. It's highly likely that he pulled out this sword for protection in case Jeanist reacted badly to what Hawks had said. But with that said, I'm going to give my take on why I would have preferred that this was a real death, and then we'll theorize about what could happen going forward. Best Jeanist's supposed death at the hands of Hawks happened totally off screen, which always leaves room for characters to survive. However, him really being dead would have shown Hawks' dedication to the mission and why the Hero Commission specifically chose him for the job. Someone like Endeavor or All Might or anyone else, like no one would have the resolve to kill another hero, and I thought that this added a layer of intrigue to Hawks' character and put him in a special grey area of willing to do evil things for the greater good. Additionally, while Jeanist is a top hero, he's not exactly a main character, so him being eliminated off screen wouldn't have been that bad from our perspective as an audience. We also know that Bakugo wanted Jeanist to be the first person who he told his hero name to, and the idea that he'd never get this opportunity would have been kind of cool because, like in the real world, things we plan to happen don't exactly follow a straight path. Sometimes random occurrences will mess things up completely, and that's what it would have been like if Jeanist was truly dead. Let me know what you guys think Bakugo's reaction would have been if Hawks had really killed Best Jeanist. Do you think he'd be more angry or sad? Or would he understand Hawks' reasoning that it was done for the greater good? Finally, we saw from Dabi's statement when he saw the body that there was always an element of doubt about whether this was really Jeanist. But for me, and for people who thought the same way that I did, I thought that Horikoshi was going to avoid the fake death trope, and this line from Dabi was more of a misdirection. Sometimes it is good to subvert expectations and have an off-screen death that is actually legit for once, especially as it would have made things much more interesting when it comes to Dabi revealing the secrets that he's been hiding. Ultimately, I do like Jeanist, so I'm happy to see that he is alive, but, you know, like for all the reasons I just said, it would have been better in my opinion if this was for real, if he was actually gone. Moving on though, as far as the future goes, Jeanist will likely use the fiber from this jet to try and restrain Makia, but there's a big problem at the moment. It doesn't make sense to use the fiber while still on the jet, because there could be a big risk of the jet crashing if Makia was to lash out. So instead, he's going to have to get the cables down on the ground first. To get them on the ground and actually use them on Makia, that means he has to be ahead of Makia. He can't be behind him because he can't do anything. So given that the beast is currently traveling at 100 kilometers per hour, it'll be really difficult to surpass him, but let's see what happens. As we all know, Bakugo is gravely injured on the battlefield right now, so it should be a touching moment when Jeanist finally arrives after several months missing, and we hopefully get that hero name reveal from Bakugo. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the fate of Best Jeanist. Let me know your take down below, and until the next one, peace out.